anybody have any questions from like, oh, so long ago? No? No questions on the exercise? Everybody did their exercises, right? You could remember. Well, hopefully you marked it in your book.
Well, I've got a question mark in my book.
Okay, what's your question mark?
On 128, I don't know if it was,
Well, let's see here.
I guess that bidding just seemed like,
Okay, East opens the bidding of club. That's pretty, okay, we're gonna open the club. South over calls a spade.
128.
128. South over calls a spade.
yeah, and so then I guess they just go to one no and stay at one no?
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they're gonna bid one no, because they got nothing else to say. And North is probably gonna pass, and it's one no. Okay, so is there something in that bidding?
I don't know, I thought they would go.
Well, there is one thing that I did want to bring up. In fact, I'm gonna bring it up in a minute in this one, but I do want to bring up one thing, because it came up yesterday in the class. Okay, so this person bids a club, this person passes, and they've got, something like this. Oh, we gotta have a jack. Okay, they got 6 points. Okay, so one club passed, this person is going to bid.
Negative, isn't it?
One no trump. Okay, one no trump. Does everybody see that? You don't have a new suit, you can bid at the one level. You can't support your partner's clubs, you have nothing to say, but you have 6 points. Your partner opened the bidding, so you must bid. So you would bid one no trump.
That's this.
Okay, does everybody see that? All right, I'm gonna change the bidding.
Negative then.
I would pass, you don't have a stop on diamond.
Okay, so now, this came up yesterday, okay? Now it changes, because when your partner bids and they've overcome, and they have passed, you bid one no trump to show your 6 to 9 points. Don't have a new suit to bid, must bid because my partner opened and I've got 6, because they could have 19 points over there, okay? So I would bid one no. This time, it changes. There's an overcall. So we no longer must bid with our 6 points because we have nothing to say. Okay? If we had a diamond stopper, we would bid one no. Okay, so if you change this king to down here, now we have a diamond stopper, we would still bid one no. But here, we do not have any cards of any subsequence in the opponent's suit. When this is a pass, and we bid one no, does this guy know what suit to lead? If this is a pass, and we bid one no, and he's on lead, he doesn't know what suit to lead, does he? He's gonna go to his hand and try to figure it out. Does he have an idea now?
Yeah.
Okay, so now he has an idea what suit to lead, his partner told him. Right, so he's gonna lead a diamond. So if you bid one no trump, what's the chance you're gonna be able to take a trick in diamonds from your hand? Not good, right? So now, with this scenario, we no longer have to bid our one no, and we can pass because we have nothing to say. If our partner has that 19-point hand, because of this overcall, pass, he will get another bid, okay? So he will get another bid, so he will be able to say, listen, partner, I really want to hear something from you, right? Okay, so do you see the difference? Okay, and that came up yesterday.
Yes.
All right, and so I wanted to clarify it, because if one person is confused about it, there's a lot of people that are confused about it, okay? So that's the difference in that. So that's a little segue, but it ties into that, okay? So whether this is a pass versus a bid changes this person bidding the no trump. And again, if this is a pass, and he's got 6 points, he has to keep the bidding open, because if his partner has 19 points and you got 6, that's game, right? If there's a bid here, you no longer have to keep the bidding open, because this guy did it for you, okay? Because we need 3 passes for it to stop, so pass, pass. This guy, if he's got that big hand and wants to compete further, can do it. He doesn't need your help to do it, yeah.
So is one of the strategy concepts, the reason I would bid with 6 points is to keep the bidding open for my partner to have something else to say.
Right.
Even if only 6 points and not a great hand, that is.
But 6 points and 19 is still game.
Okay, that makes.
And so when he opens, he could have 19 points, okay? Technically, he could have even more, but generally speaking, it's up to 19, okay? All right? Anyway, I thought that was very good, so I just wanted to bring that up. Does anybody have any other questions from last week? Okay. All right, then we're gonna start. So last week was last week was third hand high. That's what we were talking about. I just lost my place here, so let me get back here. I don't read the book, but I do follow it to keep me on track, because otherwise I tend to talk too much. I talk too much anyway. Okay, so last week we were talking about third hand high. So that was when your partner had basically led a suit. They lead, and then so that's the first hand. This is the second hand, so that was your hand. And we talked about coming up third hand high or third hand high enough. Everybody remember that from like way back when? Yes. Okay. All right. And the idea was, the principle of the third hand high is that your partner is leading low from something, so you're contributing your high card to help promote your partner's trick. Because remember, you're a partnership. His trick is your trick and vice versa. Okay? This time we're talking about second hand play. Second hand is when declarer has led from either dummy or his hand. So for instance, if the declarer is always down here, you know that. So if he leads this card here, right, you would be the second hand. And the reason that the guideline is to second hand low is because, remember, we're working with our partner. Your partner's gonna get to play to the trick last. So if you play second hand low, he might be able to win the trick with a cheaper card, depending on what's played. And the idea is to play second hand low to not give that information away to the declarer, and hopefully your partner will be able to score a cheaper trick. That's the idea. Again, it's all about working with your partner. Defense is about giving the declarer the least amount of tricks you can. Not so much as getting yours, but giving them the least. And it's a different point of view, because all too often we're like, I gotta get my ace. I gotta know what you wanna do is set the contract, okay? Keep declarer from getting the amount of tricks he needs, all right? And it takes a look, and I'm on page 136 here, okay? And I have a big underline, like 12 times here, because if you look at that paragraph, it says the common piece of advice is second hand low when you have nothing else to guide you, all right? So I want you to think about that, because sometimes you have other things to guide you, and maybe second hand low isn't the best idea. For instance, if it's the setting trick. If it's the setting trick, take it. Take it, okay? Another thing that came up in yesterday's game that I wanted to point out is the declarer had set up a bunch of good cards in dummy. So there was like some cards here that were all good. They were the only ones left. Trump had been pulled, okay? And there was 3 cards. There was the king, little, in another suit, okay? So what the declarer did was they led a low one in this suit up toward the king, which is what we were taught to do in play the hand class, right? I listened. This declarer listened, sorry. It was me. Anyway, they led towards the king, okay? Now this person here very dutifully played second hand low. They had the ace because they had heard, we talk second hand low is a good idea, okay? Not realizing or not thinking about the fact that these are all good tricks and nobody has any more. This was the only entry to dummy, okay? So when they played second hand low, Declare played the king, which won, and then cashed these 3 good tricks. Now, in that particular case, second hand low was not a good idea, because there was a reason that the defenders did not want Declare to get into dummy to be able to cash all these good tricks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I being a little confusing?
No.
Yes, dear. Good.
Could Declare have, if you had taken the ace, played the ace, I'm not playing the king, I'm gonna play an ace?
No, but the thing is, there was tricks in another suit that they could have gotten,
Oh, okay.
okay? This guy over here discarded his ace and king of clubs, because the clubs here got put on there, okay? So, thank you. All right, so what I'm saying is, again, second hand low is a guideline, but you have to think about the entire picture as well, okay? So everybody wants, it's not a rule, it's a guideline, okay? But again, on defense, you have to think about what's going on the whole picture, all right? And so, for instance, this person says, well, I don't want the Declare to get to these diamonds, so I'll take my ace and I'll switch to another suit. And if they had done that, then their partner would have been able to get their good club tricks, and this person would have not made as many tricks. I don't know if they would have gone down or not, but they wouldn't have made as many. Again, that's a defensive mistake, very common, and it happens a lot, and that's why I kind of want to show you. So second hand low is a very good guideline, but you have to think about the whole defensive plan while you're doing it, okay? I just wanted to put that out there because it's really important that people think about it. However, second hand low, without anything else to guide you, is still a good idea, all right? And if you take a look at the bottom of page 136, which is now where I'm going back to after I stop talking, and you can see that this person is going to lead from their hand to the dummy where you have the queen 7-3, okay? You, which is the you person with the ace, okay? You, without anything else to guide you, should play low, all right? Now, if that's a singleton, 2, you might not get your ace, correct?
Right.
Right.
Okay. If it's a singleton, who has the king? Your partner. Who has the 10? Your partner, you know what I mean? So your partner's got the, if that's a singleton, so you really shouldn't worry about, oh, I didn't get my ace because it's a singleton and I didn't take it. You've got a partner that's working with you. And if that's a singleton, your partner's got all the good cards behind the queen, and they're never gonna get any other cards. Does that make sense? Because how many of us have thought about that? It's just, I better take it because it could be a singleton, right? Without thinking, well, if it is, somebody's got the king, okay? All right? All right. And if you take a look at the top of page, this gives you a different scenario at the top of page 137, and these kind of shows you the reasons why. Now, I will tell you, it's very hard to get used to this, especially for newer players, because they really don't want to lose their aces, and they want to come up with their aces so they get them. It's very common. It's a habit that's hard to break, and sometimes you will not get your ace, occasionally. But more often than not, by like about 90%, you will give up less tricks to the declarer than you would if you just take your ace, all right? So if you take a look here, if you lead low, he led the 2, if you come up with your ace on page 137, you can see you will get your ace, but declarer will get 2 tricks in this suit. Do we see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's 2 tricks, so think about that. Not your 1, but their 2, okay? Now look what happens if you don't come up with your ace. The person's gonna play the 2, you'll play the 4, they'll play the queen, but now look what happens. When they lead it back, the declarer's king is trapped between your partner's jack 10 and your ace 9. So how many tricks are they gonna get in this suit? 1. Right? They will get the queen, but that's the only one they will get. All right? So you see the difference. You're getting the ace, but the difference is how many tricks you're giving to the declarer. Does that make sense? Again, it's hard, because it's just against our nature. We're like, well, I can get the trick, I want to get the trick. But on defense, it's really important, because when you're playing and you see the scores, right? If somebody's in 2 hearts and they make 2, 2, 2, and then against you, they made 3, Now, either they're a very good declarer, which is possible, or maybe you made a mistake on defense. And when you're looking at those scores, those are the things you wanna look at. Try to remember what happened. If you got a bad score on a board and you're looking at it, try to remember and say, geez, why did they make 3 against me and only 2 against everybody else? Okay? Because that's how you improve, when you find your mistakes. You know, and we all make them. Don't ever think you don't. All right? So, and you can see the difference this time here on the next one on middle of page 137. Again, playing second hand low, they'll play the queen, your partner will win their king, right? And now the declarer's jack is trapped between your cards and your partner's, all right? So you will still get your ace, but the declarer will only get, well, in this case, no tricks in this suit, okay? Whereas if you came up with the ace, they will always get a trick in this suit because you've got the ace and the king, but they have the queen and the jack. So they will always get a trick. See the difference? So it's something to think about, and it's something that you should pay attention to. And I said right here, yeah. Occasionally you will lose a trick, but very rarely will it cost you that much. More often than not, you'll do better by playing low. All right? And you take a look, well, at the next one, at page 138, it just continues on. It shows you minus the cards that you've already played. Now, here is an example on page 138, and it shows you how this process works, not just throwing out your aces. Remember, aces are meant to take kings, queens, that type of thing. If you put an ace out there and it gets the 2, 3, and 4, it didn't really do its job. It got a trick, but for what, you know? So, all right, so if you look at page 138, they're in 6 now. Oh, good for them. Okay? And how many people are gonna lead the ace? Either you're lying or you're very good.
10 of diamonds.
10 of diamonds, right, the 10 of diamonds, because the ace should be there. They're in no trump, so most likely you will get your ace at some point. But the thing is, getting an ace does not set the contract, right? They're in 6 no. You get your ace, they still make 6 no. You have to try to take 2 tricks, all right? And look at how brilliantly this works. So you lead the 10 of diamonds because you're brilliant, all right? And they win and they do something, they probably take some club tricks or something, and then at some point, they're gonna lead a heart, right? And let's say they lead a heart and they lead a low heart up to dummy's king. Watch how the example of playing second hand low works, all right? They will get their king, but now, when they lead that suit again, and they will have to, how many tricks are you gonna get in the suit? 2. Because your ace jack is now on top of declarer's queen. So they can lead a low one to their 10, you win your jack, and you still got the ace. They lead a low one to the queen, you take your ace, you still got the jack. All right? But if you pop up with your ace on that one because you wanna make sure you get it, they will make their contract, no problem, because they will get 2 tricks in the suit. Does everybody see that? It's really kind of a difficult concept sometimes to see. And again, bridge is not for the faint of heart. It's not always easy to duck your ace like that. But again, you have to think about your goal. Your goal is to set the contract, and 1 trick is not gonna set 6 of anything. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. And it gives you some other examples here. Take a look at page 139. Again, if you come up with high cards, you are taking all the guesswork out of declarer's plan. All right? And we want to make the declarer guess, because he can guess wrong. And they do a lot of the time. But if you just automatically make it easier for you, them by throwing out their ace, like, well, I don't have to worry about that now. Okay? Make sense? Take a look here. All right? Now, this time they're leading the 4 towards the ace, king, queen 10. Now you know that you have the king jack. Does declarer know? No, right? So we don't know if declarer's gonna lead this and play the queen. They might play the ace, who knows? All right? So when they play the 4 though, what card are you gonna play?
3 or 5?
Not the 5, the 3. Just play second hand, okay? And maybe they'll play the 10, which would be a smart move for them, but then you can't do anything about it. But what you didn't do was make it easier, okay? What you don't wanna do is put the jack in there, right? Because that kind of gives a lot away. Just play smoothly. They can make a mistake. Maybe they go up to the queen. Now when they play it, you will definitely get a trick in that suit. Does that make sense? Okay? I will tell you another thing. When you've got that ace, or you've got that card, and they lead low, don't sit there and go, low. All right? Believe me, the declarer's gonna figure out who's got the high card, okay? You wanna do it very smoothly. Assume that the declarer is gonna lead low, and you pull it out, and you just put it down, and there you go. Okay? But as soon as you make that hesitation, bridge is a game of people. Remember? That's why we like to play it in person. As soon as you make that hesitation, the declarer's gonna be like, maybe I know who's got the ace, you know? Okay? And don't ever try to do that on purpose. Hesitate and try to make, that's actually cheating, and you can get called for it, so, yeah. So anyway, just so you know. But anyway, so when you're gonna play low, just take it out of your hand and play it smoothly, like you didn't have any worry in the world. 2, 3, there you go, okay? Then let the declarer maybe make the right decision or the wrong decision, all right? And if you take a look here, the next one, they show the same thing. So declarer has to decide how to play this. So they're gonna play one of these, okay, to the king jack. Now, if you automatically play your ace, well, they don't have a worry, do they? But if you play second hand low, they have to decide which card to play. If they play the king, it will work for them. If they play the jack, it will not. All right? But if you play your ace, no questions for them at all. All right? Again, smooth and decide, they have to decide which one to play. All right? They'll guess right or wrong. Okay? Now, the same thing with the next one. There's no reason to play anything. Lead low. Maybe they'll play the king, then your partner's ace is good and still is your queen. If they play to the jack, your partner will win their ace and they will always get the king. Okay? But again, second hand low, because declarer doesn't know which of these situations it is, and they have to guess. All right? And you take a look. Again, these are just more examples of showing you the reasons to play second hand low. And I will tell you, really, more often than not, second hand low is the way to go. All right? If you don't think it is, it really is. If you take a look at page 140, the top here, this time they're leading. Remember, when you're the declarer, you tend to lead from the side towards the high cards, right? That's how you're finessing. So they would play a low card from dummy, and you've got the ace 10 too. What card do you play?
2.
The 2, okay? Don't insert the 10, all right? The 10 is not second hand low. That is not helping anything. That might even be costing you a trick. That 10 might come in handy at some point. All right, so just play second hand low. Hi. Okay, what was it here? Okay, so then they have to guess. They have to decide whether to play the king or the jack. If they play the king, they will get a trick in this suit. If they play the jack, they will not. Okay? They're always going to get the king because of the ace, but how many tricks they get in it is a difference. Oh, that's okay. Guys, do your thing. Are we going to be having a fire alarm today? Okay, well, that was yesterday. We got a little alarm, so it was fun. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Okay, and if you take a look here, all right, the bottom one, again, dummy, declarer is going to lead towards the high cards in dummy, right? So they're going to lead one of this suit towards the king-queen, hoping that you have the ace. You do, okay? But you don't want to just give it away and come up with your ace, because then they'll get 2 tricks in this suit. Do we all agree? Mm-hmm. We don't know how many entries they have. We don't know how many entries they have. First of all, the way to play this hand is to lead from dummy toward the high cards, from the declarer's hand toward the high cards in dummy, correct? And if the ace is where it is, declarer should want to do that more than once, correct? So they would have to then get back to their hand to lead it again. Well, sometimes they don't have a way to get back to their hand. I mean, we've all been there where we the one bid one no trump with our 6 points, and suddenly we're in 3 no trump, and we have like no entries to our hand. All right, so that's declarer's plan, is to do that. So you don't want to make it easier for them. All right, if they just, and look at it this way, if they lead low toward the king and they can't get back there, they might play the queen, and now because your partner's jack falls, you will not only get the ace, but your 10 is good. Spot cards are very important. I know we don't have enough to remember at the bridge table, but checking out those spot cards is important too. Oh, I've got it right here, spot cards, okay?
I'm sorry, I don't remember what that means.
Spot cards? Oh, it means like 10s and 9s.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because like when you play, like let's say he plays the jack, and this guy plays the queen, and he plays the king, and he played the ace. That's a very rich trick. But the 10 just got promoted into a perfectly good trick, and probably the 9 too.
Okay.
Okay, and those are what I call spot cards, because all too often those cards, and that's why I said you don't just want to stick an 8 or a 9 in there, making sure that he puts his high card in, because sometimes those will end up being your tricks. Okay, 8s and 9s, 10s, very good cards. So you would just play low, all right? And if you look at page 141, it gives you kind of another example of this. Now take a look at this one, all right? Yes?
Can you go back to this one at the bottom?
Yeah.
If he takes the first, if you duck, right, and he takes the queen, wouldn't he come back to his hand and do it again?
He would if he has an entry to get back there.
And if he does, you would duck a second time, right?
Probably, yes, because
So
I don't want
he
to,
doesn't
I
get
don't want him
the
to
free
set up
extra
all those, yeah. I don't want him to set all those. Again, when your partner puts the jack on the second one, you know that he's got a third one, so it's safe to duck it again, but you won't know that at that point. But yeah, it also, it depends on how many entries they have to the hand in dummy on other suits too, you know? I mean, if you know that they can always get there, you're not gonna get your 10 anyway, you know what I mean? So that, you know, deciding whether to duck it again. But if that's the only entry they have, then yes, you would wanna duck it again because you wanna make sure that they can't capture all the rest of the club tricks. Yeah.
Would it make any difference if there's a trump suit?
Well, you're generally gonna play second hand low first, unless you can determine that that's a singleton. Like if you see a whole bunch of them, and you know, sometimes from the bidding, like this guy's bidding 2 suits, the declarer. Well, if he's got 2 suits and he's bidding them strongly, he doesn't have too many in the other ones. So at that point, if this is a suit contract, you might want to take your ace. But again, you have to take a look and see, can he get there in other ways? Is that the only entry? You know, that type of thing. So it's a guideline, not a rule. But again, you don't want to be worried that it's a singleton all the time because you don't want to give him too many tricks.
I guess I was thinking, and my thinking is usually flawed, but I was wondering, by the 3rd time if it were a trump
Oh, the
suit.
3rd time if they're in a suit contract, no, that ace had better be gone by then.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no. Suit contract, no. No trump, hold up all you know. But
Okay.
suit contract, remember, he doesn't have many of them, so,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, you know, you have to, and that's why defense, these are guidelines, but you have to think about the whole picture, which is why we talked about at the beginning, remembering how the bidding went. Because when you've got the bidding, it gives you information that everybody's entitled to about the declarer's hand. We can see dummies when it comes down. But declarer, we have to go by the bidding. Did he bid spades? Did he bid spades twice? You know, how many does he have in that? How many, you know, and that you kind of get an idea, so you can get a feel for the shape of the hand. And you should try to do that on defense. It's kind of fun. Even if you're dummy, try to do that. It's good practice, because you don't have anything else to do while you're sitting there. You know, but if you're sitting there, okay, this is the bidding, so I think my partner's gonna lead this, I think this guy's gonna lead this, and then you know, that suit, and you can kind of an idea. It's actually very good practice when you're dummy, trying to figure out the hand. Okay, so now on page 141, they're in 3 no trump, and I think we all agree that the queen of clubs is the proper lead, right? Okay, all right, so now take a look. So the queen of clubs, well, what's he gonna do? He's gotta be able to lead toward diamonds. That's declarer's plan, right? Let's count declarer's hand. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in clubs. So he's got 6 tricks. He's in 3 no. He has to pull in 3 more tricks in diamonds, right? Okay, so he's gonna win the first trick on the board, because he has to lead towards the diamonds, right? That's his goal, because he has to hope that the ace of diamonds is on the declarer's right, correct? Is everybody with me? Okay, so he's gonna win the ace of clubs and dummy, he's gonna lead a diamond. Now, what happens if you come up with your ace?
He's gonna get the rest of it.
He's gonna be able to get his contract, no problem, correct? Yes.
I'm confused. On 141, the lead is the queen, it's gonna be taken by the king?
Well, no, it depends on what declarer's plan is. And declarer's plan is to be in dummy to lead toward his king and queen of diamonds. Because he has to get 3 tricks out of the diamond
Is
suit.
he gonna start it with the first trick, or is he,
He's gonna take the ace,
he's gonna take the ace, okay,
okay? Because he needs to be in dummy, and look, that's his only time.
okay.
Do we all agree? He's not getting there again. Okay, so, he'll play the ace on the first trick, and then he'll start his diamond, and he'll lead a diamond towards his king, queen. Okay, now you, being the guy in east, look at what the difference is if you play low versus if you play your ace. If you play and come up with your ace, then declarer is gonna make his contract, no problem. All right, because now he's got the king and the queen, and because he's got 8 diamonds and they split, his last diamond will be good. Oh, so he will be able to get over to dummy with the 9, if he needed to, okay? Does that make sense? But look what happens if you don't. You play low, you play the 7, he comes up with the king, now what's he gonna do?
So lead
Can't
a
go
4.
back to dummy.
He can't, huh?
He has to lead a 4 to the 9, that's the only thing he can do.
He can lead a 4 to the 9, but then how many diamond tricks do you as a defender get?
Just probably 2, yeah,
You'll get 2.
2, yeah.
Because if he has to lead low to the 9, not only will you get your ace, but you'll get your jack. If he decides, well, let's just hope for a miracle, and he's in his hand with the king, and he plays the king, well, now you take your ace, but your jack is good.
In that example where he's taking over the king, leaves the 4 back, the partner has a 10 and the 8. Should he go up? I mean, he's second in that.
Well, that's gonna be the only card he has left, so he doesn't have
Oh, that's
choice.
right, he's got it anyway.
He's only got 2, he has to play
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
okay? But you will still overtake it, because you're not gonna take his 10 with the ace, you're gonna take it with your jack, okay? So as long as you play second hand low on this hand, and it just shows an example. These might seem to be very basic examples, and they're really easy to see when we're here looking at them at the book. I've been at the bridge table, okay? That ace comes up all the time, okay? So that's why we're doing this, because it's easy to see now, not so easy to see at the bridge table, okay? So if you think about it, when you play, and again, some people might say, well, I'm gonna put the jack in there to make sure, well, that just cost you a trick, okay? Because if you don't put the jack in there, as you can see from this example, you will get your jack, okay? So play second hand low. Second hand low is low, okay? All right? All right, so that's second hand low, that's kind of the concept, comes up all the time. Now we're gonna get to second hand not so low, which is like third hand high enough, okay? So if you take a look on page 142, we're gonna talk about something called splitting honors. Has everybody heard that before? Anybody heard that?
Yes.
Good. All right, the idea behind that is, well, we're gonna go over it, so you do. The idea behind that is to, when you've got more than one touching honors in a suit, to force the declarer to play the high one, automatically promoting one for your side. So if you take a look here, and we're on page 142 now, they've led from dummy, they've led the 6, the 4, the 3, one of those, okay? You have the king, the king, the queen, the jack, and a little one. Now you could play second hand low, but does that make sense? No, right?
No.
You want to force out the ace so that you can promote the other 2 in your suit. And then actually, because you got 4 of them, you know, who knows, maybe the 4th one, right? So when he leads low, you would play the king, the queen, or the jack. It's a good example to get in the habit of playing the lowest one you need to. It signals to your partner, gives them an idea of what's going on. Okay? So you would play the jack. Now, declarer plays their ace, but you have automatically promoted 3 more tricks in this suit. Okay? If it's a suit contract, 2. All right, does that make sense? If you play second hand low, declarer could win with the 9. And what that's doing is that's saying, I'm gonna sacrifice an honor to promote. And it's kind of like the same way when you're leading and you're on lead and you lead the king from king, queen. You're playing the king to force out the ace to automatically promote your queen. All right?
But can I,
Yes.
but when you're sitting at the table, how do you know that declarer has it versus your partner?
Well, first of all, if your partner has, if your partner has the ace, I'm not sure why they're leading that suit at all.
I was gonna say.
Okay.
All right? And you just have to assume that your partner doesn't have the ace. If your partner has the ace, can't do anything about it, but then just give them credit for making some kind of weird play. Okay? But I mean, seriously, if your partner's got the ace and you got the king, queen, jack, I'm not sure why they're.
Yeah, you're right.
Debbie, playing the jack, telling your partner you have the queen and the king, is the partner deduce that because the declarer has to take it with the ace?
Yes, it is. Now, again, it's not, I mean, it could be that the declarer has the ace, king, queen, we don't know. But it's a good policy, not a good policy, but a good habit to get in the habit of doing. Because when you play the lowest card you need to win the trick, if your partner's paying attention, and they should be, it will help give them information about what's in your hand. Okay? All right? If you take a look at the bottom one now it gets a little more dicey, okay? We don't know. The declarer is leading the 3 to the ace 10 4 2. Now we don't know if declarer has the king or if our partner has the king. And when you don't have any more information to go on, chances are good that you should probably split your honors. If somehow partner has the king for whatever reason, then you wouldn't have to, okay? But generally speaking, unless you have some really good knowledge of that, and doesn't include peeking into his hand, because that's not allowed. You generally want to split your honors. So if he leads the 3, you play your jack, which will force out the ace, more than likely, right? And now you have promoted your queen into a trick. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, and you can see the example here, okay? You play the jack, they play the ace, and then it comes back and you can see how it makes that you created a trick for yourself, all right? Now, if you look at the middle one on page 143, well, this is an unfortunate situation, okay? If you play low on this one, your partner wins their singleton king. Well, you can't know everything, okay? Now, sometimes you can count them out, and you know your partner has a singleton. If they open, maybe you hope it's the king or something, and you can figure out to duck it, but more often you can't. So you just have to go with the best you can. Remember, it is a game. It's 50-50 shot, whether you're right sometimes. Okay? And you can look at the difference of those 2 bottom ones on page 143. One, it's brilliant play doing what you did. The other one, it's not. Do you know which? No. So you have to go with the guidelines. All right? Now take a look at the one on top, page 144. Does it make any sense, really, to put your queen and your jack in there?
No.
Not really, right? Because they've got the ace, the king, and the 10. Assuming that they can come back and do it again, once you put your jack in there, they can come back and do the same finesse all over again. So better off, play low, all right? And hopefully they'll just play the ace and the king. You know? And then your honor will be promoted. All right? Again, you don't want to give information to the declarer that they can use for their benefit. Yeah.
So if they try to finesse the 10, is that a very often?
Well, they're always going to be able to get their 10 because of where everything is.
I understand.
They don't know that.
But how often would somebody really feel
Depends
comfortable?
on how desperate they are.
Right.
How they did it.
Well, and if you've got nowhere to park your 3rd one, then yeah. Okay? You know, I mean, Steve finessed to the 8 once. Not on purpose, but it worked beautifully. Freaked everybody at the table out. I was like, what are you doing?
Actually, it was the 5.
It was a 5. Oh. Yeah. It's like, he just called for the wrong card.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of honors, and I played the 2 from my hand, she played the 3, and in my mind, I was thinking ahead, I was gonna play the king, and then I was gonna play the little one back, but I called for the 5, so it was 2, 3, 5, and she had a singleton 4.
Yeah, it was the most brilliant play, and everybody's like, he finessed the 5! So you never know what people are gonna do.
It looked like I did it on purpose. That was
But it does happen, you know. But again, there's no reason to tell them and broadcast that that's the way they should play it. That's the idea. And again, bottom of page 144, here's another example. When you have the setting trick, don't play second hand low. Okay, if you can set the contract, set it. Okay, because other things can happen. So if you take a look here, they're in 4 hearts. All right. And you've led the jack of diamonds, perfectly legitimate lead. We'd all lead the jack of diamonds from that hand, wouldn't we?
Yep.
Cool. And see how brilliant that is. Okay, so we get the first 2 diamond tricks, and when it's led again, declare roughs it. Okay? All right, so they're probably going to lead, so they've roughed it in their hand, and now they're going to lead their 9 of spades towards dummy. Do you take your ace? Yes. Why? Well, it may or may not be a singleton, we don't know. Okay, but we do see that there's an awful lot of good spade tricks in dummy, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
We also have the ace of clubs,
Right.
which would be the setting 2 tricks. So we would want to take that ace and then immediately take our ace of clubs for the setting trick. And you can see what happens if you duck it. Well, they're going to keep playing spades. You can take your ace at some point, but they will have gotten rid of something else, okay? Or you will not get your ace actually. They'll just, they will have taken that, and then their losers just went down to 3 instead of 4. Does that make sense? Actually, yeah, they're not going to play spades at all. They're going to be like happy they got their 9 and go on with the rest of it. Play trump and then force out the ace of clubs and you're good. I mean, yeah, that's right. Okay, does everybody see that? Okay. So again, it's thinking about the big picture. Not just always second hand low, not always third hand high. Thinking about the big picture, okay? And they give you another example on page 145, all right? This is a suit contract. Dummy has the 7-4 in this side suit. This is not trump. There's trump someplace else, okay? And declarer calls from one of these cards from dummy. Are you gonna play second hand low?
No, because you're gonna end up getting trump.
Exactly. No, you would not. You'd play your king and your ace because it's going to get trumped. Or you'd at least take your king. You might switch to another suit or something, but you would take your king. You would not play second hand low because there's only 2 of them. Now, that doesn't mean you have to take your ace and your king right away. If there's 2 in dummy and there's nowhere to put it, just take your king and leave whatever your partner led to begin with, get back to that possibly, and you'll get your ace later on. Okay? Depending on the situation. If it's the setting trick, take it. Okay? Does that make sense? Somebody has the queen and the jack, it's most likely to declare it. Okay? All right. If you take a look at page 146, here we have another situation. Okay, so they're in 4 hearts. Okay, that's good. So your partner leads the ace of spades. Well, that's a really good lead. So they play the ace, dummy plays low. What card do you play, by the way?
The 9.
The 9. Good, that's good. You want to encourage your partner. We're going to get into more of that later. If you've got a doubleton, you want to show them. So your partner's going to take the first 3 tricks in spades, right? And then the 4th one's going to get roughed by declare, right? Now let's just say, so your partner plays the ace, they play the king, they play the queen. Are you going to trump the queen? No. Trumping your partner's good tricks. Not good. Not good. Okay, they're going to play the 10 now, because the jack came out under the queen, right? So the 10 is the last one. We all know that because we can count. Are you gonna trump that one?
No.
No. Trumping partners, good tricks. Not good. The 10 is good. All right? You're just gonna get over trumped. Trumping partners tricks, remember this. Take it to the bank. Trumping partners good trick, not good. Okay? So you will discard something. Okay? Make declarer trump it. All right? But now, they pull trump and the declarer ends up in dummy and they lead a club. What card do you play?
Queen.
The queen, right? You want to split your honors. Because remember, your split honor is now the setting trick. Remember, your partner took the first 3 spade tricks. So when they lead a club, you're going to play your queen, forcing the declarer to play their ace and hopefully promoting your king into the setting trick. Okay? Look what happens if you play low. They'll say, I'll try the jack, and it would work. Okay? But again, it's all about thinking about the entire deal. You know, bridge is not a game where you can just sit there like this, you know? You really got to think about it. And that's why defense is so much fun, because you got to work with your partner. And your partner has to pay attention. Even if you got one of those Yarboroughs, if you've got a Yarborough, your partner's got all the defensive points, do your best to pay attention and help them.
What's a Yarborough?
When you got nothing.
Oh.
A Yarborough is actually a hand that doesn't even have a 10.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a really bad hand. Okay?
English.
Okay. All right. So does everybody kind of get the idea about splitting honors? All right, that's the idea. You're splitting one, hoping to force out the high, and then automatically promoting a trick for your side. Okay? Now we're going to talk about covering honors. Has everybody heard about that?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? It's okay. For people whose grandmothers played, their grandmothers talked about it. If your grandmother didn't play, you probably never heard about it. But covering an honor is a way of making sure that the declarer, again, does not get a free trick. Okay? If you take a look at page 147, okay? You can see here, they've called for the queen of this suit from dummy. So you've got the king, jack, 10. Now this is pretty obvious. Sometimes they're not. Okay? But do we all see that playing the king over the queen would be the right thing to do? Because that's going to force out the ace, and now our jack and 10 are perfectly good. Okay? If you look at the example in the bottom, all right, where you have the king 6-3, we hope that our partner is the one with the jack and the 10. We can't see it, so it's not as obvious. But we would still want to do the same thing. If they play the queen from dummy, we would want to put our king on to hopefully promote something for our side and our partner's hand. Now, if declarer has all the rest of them, the jack, the 10, you're not promoting anything for your side, but you're also not doing any harm by covering. Okay? So, because if you play low, they're going to let it ride, and then their queen's good too. All right? So at least by covering it, when they say cover it, it means they play the queen, you put it right on top, squishing it, all right? And then they take their ace. Now somebody, we don't know whose, jack and 10 just got promoted into a good trick. Okay? And we're hoping at least one of those is in our partner's hand. And it is a lot. It is a lot. Which is why, if you were the declarer, how would you play this hand? If you're the declarer and you've got the queen 5-4 in dummy and the ace 8-7 in your hand, how would you play it?
You'd probably lead from your hand to the queen.
Exactly. You would lead low from your hand to the queen. Probably maybe take the ace first or maybe not. But you would lead low to the queen, hoping that the king is on your left. And if it's not, you try it. Okay? Okay. So that's the idea about covering honors. Now take a look at page 148, and this is what you've done. You just couldn't see it, but because of your brilliant play, you have promoted tricks for your side. So again, the queen was led. You'd play the king, forces out the ace, but now look whose jack and 10 just got promoted. Okay? Your partner, which is the same as you. Okay? If you take a look at the next one, you didn't promote anything, but, it didn't do any harm, all right? And if they're a no trump and your partner has a chance, as 9 got promoted, it was gonna get promoted anyway, but, you know, all right? But the thing is, even though it didn't promote anything for your side, it also didn't give anything away. So it's a good principle to use, okay? If you look at the next one though, okay, the third one down, now queen, you play your king, he forces his ace, his jack is good, but look whose partner got the 10.
Yeah.
All right, if you play low, you're not gonna necessarily promote that, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so you might not see the 10 and the 9, but you have to envision that you're hoping that by covering the declarer's dummy's honor, you will promote something for your partner that you can't see, okay? Take a look at the next one. Again, we don't know. I don't know why they're playing it this way, but again, this is about our defense, not the declarer's bad play. They play the queen from dummy. You would cover the king, okay, which wins. Pretty cool. But now, declarer's jack 9 is trapped behind and in front of your partner's ace 10. So covering the honor still worked, okay? So it's generally a good principle, barring anything else, okay? Now, if it's a singleton in dummy, well, then there's not really, you don't really need to, because they can never get your high card if it's a singleton. So imagine that's a singleton queen, and they're in no trump, okay? Covering it right there will probably not promote as much as you think, okay? So again, you don't have to put your king on there at that point, because your king is always going to be a good trick. They can't do it again. Does that make sense? Okay. Where was I? Okay. And also take a look here. If they lead, now again, it depends on which card they're leading. So if you look at the bottom of page 148, if they play the queen, then you're going to cover with the king. Okay? If they play the 4, which is a much more likely scenario, right? Then what card would you play? The 3, second hand low. So now it reverts to second hand low. So it depends on what card declarer calls for from dummy. Okay? If you take a look at page 149, it gives you the complete deal again. I'm putting these principles in action. They're in 4 spades, and your partner leads the queen of diamonds. Oh, what a brilliant lead. Okay, all right. So we all agree that we're gonna get the first 2 tricks, right?
Yes.
Okay, because until they play the king, you are not gonna play your ace, right? Your ace is only gonna get played when the king is played. Okay, so you're gonna get the first two diamond tricks. They'll lead it again, but now declarer's gonna trump it. All right, so that's good. So we've gotten 2 tricks, and they're going to play what? Let's see. They're gonna lead a club. Let's see, wait a second, I'm just trying to read here. I'm trying to see what this is. Takes club tricks and then leads jack of hearts from dummy. Okay, there we go. Okay, so they've pulled trump now. Okay, after they've roughed the diamond, they've pulled trump and they're in dummy and they're leading the jack of hearts. Does everybody see that? So what card do you play? You being the you person in East.
Queen.
The queen, you're gonna cover, all right? Yes. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but take a look at the full deal. When he plays the jack and you play the queen, he has to play his ace or his king. Look whose 10 just got promoted into a good trick. Hello, partner. Okay? So by your brilliant play, you have promoted a trick for your side on defense. If you don't cover, he's gonna let it ride and the jack's gonna win and you're not gonna get any tricks in this suit at all. Is that do you see that? Yeah, okay. All right, again, it's harder when you don't have the cards in your hand, but you have to just envision that, well, I'm gonna do this, hoping it helps my partner. And that's what you have to do, so you're doing it blindly, okay? Now you take a look at the next one, okay? They've led the 10, okay? And do you cover or not? Well, you should, right? Because we don't know who's got the king, we don't know who's got what. So they play the 10, we'll play the queen, and it'll play the ace. But now, look at your partner. By doing that, the dummy's jack 8 is in front of your partner's king 9. Does everybody see that? Okay, if you play low, he's gonna let it ride. Because that's his plan, remember? And so your partner will win their king, but now what happened? Now he can get back in somehow and lead up to the jack. And he will get 2 tricks in the suit. Well, actually 3 because of the 4th one. Does everybody see that? So by covering an honor, you have promoted an additional trick on your side. And that's what it's all about, getting more tricks for defense, less for offense, all right? And this just gives you the examples. You can go through it and see the different scenarios on how it plays, depending on whether you cover or not, okay? And on page 151, it's talking about when not to cover, okay? Now, the idea of covering an honor with an honor, again, is to promote tricks for your side, between you and your partner. You can't see your partner's hand, you're hoping, okay? If you look at the example of page 151, does it make sense when he plays the queen for you to put your king on?
No.
No, right? Because what are we promoting for our side? Remember, we're the good guys,
Dummy's tricks.
right? You're just promoting tricks for dummy. So in this particular case, you can see where the jack, the 10, and the 9 are. So covering is not going to do your side any good at all. Does that make sense? So in this situation, we would not cover because it doesn't help us. We don't know how many he has in his hand. He might only have 2, right? So he might play the queen, then he plays 1 to his ace. Now your king is good and he doesn't get all those tricks. If you cover the queen with the king, assuming he's got the ace, which let's face it, he does, you have now helped him to promote more tricks in this suit. And we don't like to do that. Helping declare, not good. Does that make sense? Okay? If for some reason your partner has the ace, he can take it. Generally doesn't happen that way. All right? If you look at the 3rd one now, okay, here, so the 3rd one down where you got the queen, jack, 4, we wouldn't want to cover the 1st one, but we would cover the 2nd, because remember, we don't know where the 10 is. But you don't want to just blindly cover the 1st one. So generally, when you've got 2 of them, you're going to cover the last one in the sequence. All right? So you would play low on the queen, but then if it continued on, you would play the king over the jack. And hopefully your partner's 10 or 9 comes into play at some point. All right? Does that make sense? And if you take a look here, if you played the queen and you ducked it, they could win the ace, but you've still got the king over the jack. Does that make sense? Okay. Again, these are all just different scenarios. They show you the different scenarios. But if you look here, if you take a look at the top of page 151, this is where, again, you're envisioning, hoping. Because again, you don't know because you can't see your partner's hand. But you would duck the 1st one, but you would play your king over the jack to the ace, but now your partner's 10 is promoted. And these are the type of things, again, you can't see them, you just have to hope. If the declarer has a 10, well, it doesn't really make any difference anyway. Okay? You just do your best, all right? And they just give you, again, some scenarios of when to cover and when not. And it just gives you some examples there. Now, if you take a look here, and on page 151, it gives you a couple of different scenarios. So,
151?
152.
153, I'm sorry, what did I say, 151?
Yeah.
I said 150, I meant 153. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I didn't sleep well last night, so bear with me. So here, when they play the jack, we, as a you person, don't know who's got the king, right? So we have to make our best guess. Do we play low? Do we not? Generally speaking, when you don't have anything else to go on, you cover an honor with an honor. Now, as you can see in this case, it helps because now all the rest of his have been set up. But we don't know that. We can't see. All right? If you take a look at the next one, you play the jack. Now, if we're brilliant, we would play low, right? Because our partner has a singleton king. Do we know that? No. So you have to do your best, all right? If there's some way you can figure it out, good for you. But again, if they lead the jack, you could certainly duck the first one, because if they're leading the jack, more likely than not, they have the 10 and cover the second one. It's an idea, but again, you have to try to vision what they're doing. And sometimes somebody's leading the jack and he doesn't have the 10, so you should cover it, okay? And there's no guarantees. So the idea is, when you don't have anything else to go on, cover an honor with an honor, okay? Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not. If you take a look, and it gives you some examples, again, another couple of examples where covering goes wrong and it's brilliant. Do you know which is which? No, because you can't. You don't know where all the cards are. If you take a look at the second from the bottom one, you play the queen, cover with the king, right? We don't know who has the ace. And if you look at it, we did what we were supposed to, and there's our partner's ace. If we had played low, it would have been brilliant, but you just don't know. So
You
don't
might
be,
have been able to figure out from the bidding, if this guy redid that hand, you knew he had 6.
mm-hmm,
And then dummy has 4, and you've got, so then you can kind of count.
it's possible, but you still don't know partner's got a singleton king,
True.
okay?
Single
But
to
yes,
3.
that gives you some idea of whether to do it or not, based on the number of pieces you have. Okay, I'm not used to enough, okay, I'm doing good. Okay, and it shows you again, page 154, all right, this time is brilliant if you cover. So all these past 2 pages are showing you an example of covering. It either works or it doesn't. You don't know which, so you have to just go by the guideline. But again, if you have some inkling that, you know, your partner might, and you don't see any reason to go up, that's fine too. Again, on this one, where was it here? Hold on. You know, 154, you know, if you cover or not, I mean, the thing is, if he's bid it, you know he's got 5, there's 9, you know your partner's got only 1. There's no reason to have to cover it. You know, if you have a hope, maybe your partner opened, maybe he's got a singleton king, you know, maybe he has a singleton ace. Sometimes that happens too, okay? There's no guarantee. The idea is you're thinking about it. That's what I wanted to get past. Okay, that was the big gist of this chapter. Does anybody have any questions on so far? I know I kind of went on. It's a little drony. I'm sorry if I'm drony.
The best
You're
shot is
fine.
to cover an honor with an honor.
Most often, unless you have some reason to suspect not to. And when there's touching honors in, like dummy,
Yes.
you want to cover the last one in the sequence. That's the general guideline. And then, but that's covering an honor, that's splitting honors, and there's second hand bump. Okay? So you have to think about it, and it's not always the exact same thing. And you know, you just have to go by the guidelines and hope you're doing right. Because that's all we have to go on, because we can't see into the other hands. Okay, they're talking a little bit about bidding review now, because remember, with every hand, we go to defense, and now we're reviewing bidding, and now we're reviewing play of the hand. So it gives you a little stuff. I don't really want to go into it too much in case anybody has any questions about this. Yes, Nancy?
So I'm just gonna say top of 157, cause I made this mistake, and and when I read this, I was like, oh, now I understand why I made the mistake.
A new suit by responder, is that what you're talking about?
Forcing.
Okay, well, now I'm gonna say this with caveat, okay? Right now, because there aren't a lot of conventions that you're using and it's all natural, you wanna consider, but I do not agree that a new suit by responder is always forcing, okay? So, it depends on the bidding sequence, and I'm really wanting to come up with some examples, but I can't right now, right offhand. But more likely than not, at this stage in your bidding, in your bridge careers, try to continue bidding, unless you've got a real dog and you much prefer their second suit to their first or something like that. I would say that with a little bit of a forcing, okay? Because there are times when your partner is not gonna want you to bid again, but they're just trying to show you the shape of their hand. But for now, try to bid again, okay? And there's another thing, oh, okay, and this is where I had my thing where I talked about the one no trump at the bottom of page 156. A response of one no trump, so when your partner is open and you've responded one no trump, 6 to 9 points, you can't bid a new suit, right? But again, that's a caveat, that's an uncontested auction. As soon as the opponent's bid a suit, that now changes to 6 to 9 points plus a stop. Okay? If there's no interference, your partner bids, they pass, one no trump doesn't promise a stopper anywhere. It just says, I have 6 to 9 points, don't like your suit, can't bid another suit at the one level. Soon as there's interference, 100%, that one no trump switches from 6 to 9, to 6 to 9 with a stopper.
Just one stop?
You only need one, yeah, you only promise one, okay? But that is very important because, again, if they haven't bid, the guy on lead doesn't know what to lead. Once they've bid, he has an idea. So that will more likely than not be the suit that's led, okay? On the bottom of page 157, something else here, it says, they're talking about week 2s, week 3s, preempts. And what they say here is that if you do a preempt and your partner bids a new suit that it's forcing, that is a partnership agreement. That is not written in gold. Like, I personally do not play it forcing. All right, a lot of people don't. Some people do. This is an important thing to know, because if your partner has done a week 2, and you bid a new suit, you have to know whether you're making your partner bid or not. Now, having said that, if you do a week bid and your partner bids a new suit, you should strive to bid always, if you can. So for instance, I open this hand. Oh, that's not my pen, that's this pen. Hold on, my pen. Okay, so I open this. Okay? First seat. Do we bid? Do we not bid? What do we bid? If we do.
2 hearts?
Not at least 2 hearts. Okay, we have 6, so 2 hearts. Do we all agree that we would open this 2 hearts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good, because you should, okay? Vulnerable or not, that's a 2-heart bid, okay? Now, imagine this guy passes and your partner bids 2 spades. What do we do? Are we gonna pass him?
No.
I would put it to
3 hearts.
You shouldn't, okay? That shows a strong hand with at least 5 spades. Do we have a fit?
Yes.
How much did our hand just improve?
A lot.
A lot. Hello, baby! His 6-point hand just went up to a 9. Okay? We now have 9 points, and our partner has shown a strong hand. You don't think you should raise? You should raise. Okay?
You don't have the point, so he might.
Well, no, it's not that you don't have the point. He does.
He does.
Okay? Because you do not bid over a preempt without a very strong hand.
Yeah. And what many points?
Well, at least 15. Okay? At
Okay,
least
so this would
15,
never-
because the most he can have is 10.
This would never happen if the guy bid 2 spades was a passed hand at the get-go, right?
No, it would not.
Okay.
It would not. I mean, it would have to be, no, I mean, he'd have to be void and maybe,
So
I
this
can't even
opening, this
imagine.
bid here is generally a first or second
Yeah,
bid, okay,
first, second, or third.
second.
Mhm.
So if you didn't have 15 points, you should just pass?
You should, yeah. Again, because don't try to save your partner, all right? It's not, because anytime you bid over a preempt, that is a strong bid. It's thinking about game, opposite of we can't. Think about that. Because you don't just go bidding willy-nilly. Well, at least you should. Okay? So this is showing a strong hand, so you should strut. Now, If we've got something like this, I would pass. Okay? All right, this is a pass hand. And the other one, my hand actually went up in support of spades. Here it went, no more, okay? And that's why some people play it not forcing. It gives leeway to this, okay? But again, I'm not saying which way's better, because some people think this way and some people think this way. So you should think about, like, when you have your little convention cards that you fill out, mark on there, because it says new suit, right by the preamps, not forcing or forcing. You decide what you're gonna do and you keep that so that when you play with a partner, you can discuss this, you know, because it's something you should discuss. Hopefully you've discussed it. We got a partnership here. I don't think we discussed that. Okay, and on page 158, this is a little play of the hand review, and again, we talked about that a little bit when I was showing you the other stuff. Here, if you're playing this hand between you know, the declarer and dummy, the way to play this would be to lead towards the king, hoping, fingers crossed, that the ace is on your left. Okay, if it's not, oh well. All right, but if it's on your left, you would play the king, and if it's on our left, we'd win. Okay, again, good idea to not pop up with your ace. If you're the guy on the left with the ace and thinking, well, it doesn't make any difference, it might. Okay, because he doesn't know. All right, I mean, depending on what he's led and what he's got. I mean, granted, there's only 2 of them, but you know, I doubt if he's got 2 in dummy that he's got 1 in his hand. Otherwise, you'd know about it because you'd be bidding the suit back and forth. Okay? And again, if you're on the second hand, again, the way to play it, you come to your hand as the declarer and you lead towards your high cards and dummy. If it worked once, you'd come back and do it again because you want to get 2 tricks in that suit. Notice if declarer pops up with their ace, makes it very easy for them, the defendant that pops up with their ace, okay? And again, the bottom one, declarer is going to lead towards the king jack. If you pop up with your ace, makes it a little easier for him, doesn't it? Okay? Because he has to lead towards the king jack. He has to decide whether he's leading toward the king or toward the jack. And depending on what your partner has and what you have, he could very easily make the wrong decision. All right? But again, popping up with a high card kind of puts the whole thing away. Okay? All right? Again, we talked about this is all about leading high cards. All right, does anybody have any other questions on this chapter? Yes, sir.
There's one thing I want to ask about, on page 157 about the 2 club opener, and it says at the bottom there that remember a bid of 2 diamonds is a negative bid, shows a few of the total 8 points.
No.
But you told us, don't ever bid 2 no trump if you've got.
I do,
So there's an exception to that. Generally, it might mean that.
Yes, well, again, they're playing the 2 diamonds as not a weighting bid, but as a negative bid. And the way I taught it was the 2 diamonds weighting, which pretty much leaves you open to anything. But I will tell you that you really do want to strive when your partner is open 2 clubs to have them be the declarer,
right,
if you can at all help it. Now, we had an instance, you know, the other day where you had to bid a 4-card suit because you just had a desperation bid, because you don't have it, you know, you have to do something. But generally speaking, you really want to try to have the declare, because more often than not, it's going to be 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, and then either a good suit or a 2 no trump. This one happens a lot. Okay, and when this happens, then Stamen kicks in, your Jacoby transfers kick in, which is all geared to having the big hand play the hand. If you bid the 2 no trump over here, it's not going to be as good because the lead is going to go through the goodies, you know, of the strong hand into the weak hand, which is generally, I mean, you're not going to, no matter how good a hand you have, you're not going to be as good as the 2 clubber.
Right.
So you really don't want to be the playing hand, whatever. So that's why the 2 diamond weighting does not show negative. Now there are different systems. There's steps, there's controls, there's the 2 hearts, there's a whole bunch of different systems. I teach the 2 diamonds waiting just because it's the most flexible, and it's easier to get the strong hand to play it. Okay? Yeah, I'm glad you put that out, because I didn't catch that. I went through it this morning and was pulling out all the things I wanted to bring up, but. Does anybody else have any questions? Because we had a real good one. You guys bid a slam the other day on that one, on that 2 club bid. That was nice. Does anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay, let's place some hands. All right.
So, my turn.
All right, Mike, you fill in over here.
Sorry, if you should.
Uh,
Did you want?
and then we'll have to do